Hello, salut tout le monde. Hello, everyone. Thanks for joining my live stream. So I'm back. I have been out of town for 3 weeks or a month or something like that. Was taking a vacation in Virginia, but I'm back in Wisconsin now, back home. And while I was gone, I intended to continue making videos and live streaming at least a little bit, but I failed. It was just a vacation. That's all it was. But now I'm back and I want to get back into the swing of things. Hopefully I'll be back to my schedule of uploading every week, preferably twice a week, and streaming once a week. That's my goal. I'm going to try to stick to it. I have also been trying to post 2 videos a week to my other channel, my Esperanto channel. That's the channel I speak only Esperanto in. But anyways, here we are, back home. I can get back into the swing of things. You know how it's hard to keep a steady schedule when you're moving all around and you're on vacation and stuff. But yeah, hopefully we'll get back into the swing of things. While I was gone, I did not do a great job of maintaining my language learning routine. I did a little bit of listening practice to, I was listening to some Spanish podcasts while I was gone. Listened to some French music with my girlfriend. She's learning French, and so we would listen to French music in the car sometimes. I was teaching lessons as well, so Spanish lessons. I'm not teaching any French lessons, but I was teaching Spanish lessons, and teaching, honestly, is a big help for helping me just maintain and be thinking in Spanish, you know? Inigo says, hi, everyone. Hola a todos. Mona Lisa says, hello. Thanks for joining, guys. I'm always interested to hear where you guys are from, what you're doing, what languages you're learning, if any. So be sure to leave me a comment if you're watching this, where you're from, what language you're learning. I'm also always interested to hear what time zone people are in, because for me right now, it's almost 11 a.m. I know some people are staying up late at night to watch this live stream, or waking up early in the morning, or you can't sleep or something like that. So let me know where you're from, what time it is there. So anyways, yeah, I didn't stay real consistent with my language learning while I was on vacation, other than a few things, you know, that I kind of did on the side. Didn't do much reading on Link. Link is usually my favorite resource for maintaining languages that I've already been learning. Didn't do great with that, but you know, that happens from time to time. I'm not too worked up about it. I have been reading this book called Learning French from Spanish and Spanish from French. And this is kind of a grammar book. And it just compares French and Spanish. And it's really interesting if you speak both languages, or if you speak one and you're trying to learn the other. Full disclosure here, I do know one of the authors because she was my French professor in college. In fact, I actually bought this book before I even knew her or was planning on taking French lessons. So that was really interesting. Okay, I'm from Madrid, España, and I'm currently learning English and German. I consider myself a high intermediate English and German learner. And from the, you know, just from the way you write that comment, sounds like your English is very high. All right, it looks great. Mona Lisa says it looks great. I'm not sure what you're talking about. Talking about this book here? It's a very interesting book. Davo says, hey, Aaron, Tom in the UK. El Dragoncito arrived a couple days ago, working through it, and great so far. So thanks a lot. Learning Spanish, obviously. Hope you're doing well. Thanks for that comment, Davo. I don't know how you pronounce your name, Davo. Yeah, so El Dragoncito is the book that I wrote recently. Released it on Amazon Kindle. and a paperback version as well for people learning Spanish. And I have the same book available in Spanish, French, Thai, English, and Toki Pona. Toki Pona version is free, just because I'm interested in spreading Toki Pona. And I also got free volunteers to do translations, so I didn't want to charge people for that. Obviously, if you get the paperback, you just have to pay for shipping and printing costs. Anyways, that's my little plug. Thanks for mentioning that, Davo. I hope it's helpful to people, but I'm not here to plug my own content today. I'm not really here for any reason today. I just want to talk languages because it's been 3 weeks. But I do want to talk a little bit just about the things that I've been doing. And like I said, this book is great. Learning French from Spanish. Sorry, I got my window open because it's kind of hot here. Apparently the motorcycles are drag racing down my road. Learning French from Spanish and Spanish from French. It goes through a bunch of different aspects of the language. Like, for example, spelling, simply spelling, and how letters in the language corresponds to sounds in the language. That's the chapter that I was reading today. And, you know, in Spanish, there's a much more straightforward relationship between spelling and pronunciation, or, you know, letters and the speech sounds. It's basically a 1-to-1 ratio between written vowels and spoken vowels, and it's very straightforward. Whereas in French, it's a little bit more complicated. And you know, and the book goes through differences between what does an accent mark mean in Spanish? What does an accent mark mean in French? You know, in Spanish, accent marks the syllable that's going to be stressed. I don't know how to pronounce this. Inigo, it looks like to me. Says, I wonder if anyone wants to interchange English-Spanish conversation hours with me. I beg your pardon if this is not the place to make my offer. Yeah, that's fine. I don't mind. If you're looking for a good place to find a conversation partner in your target language, I recommend Hello Talk. I'm just going to put that in the comments here. Hello Talk. Hello Talk it's an app designed, and a website designed to hook you up with people who are learning your target language and who can help you, or I'm sorry, people who speak your target language and who wants to learn your native language. So it's great for finding conversation partners. People tell me I talk with my hands a lot. I don't know how this represents finding conversation partners. Like, here's you, here's someone who speaks your target language, and then Hello Talk combines you. I don't know. I guess I still get a little bit nervous sometimes when I'm doing live streams. So I use my hands a lot. I try not to sometimes. Put my hand behind my back or something. Hi, Mona Lisa. Davo, what are your languages? My name is pronounced like this. Ignigo Alia. Is that a Spanish name? Inigo Alai. So is that like the guy, like the name of the guy from what is it, from The Princess Bride? My name is Inigo Montoya or something like that. Is it pronounced the same as his first name? Just a question. So yeah, anyways, I did want to talk a little bit about this book, just because it is what's been on my mind recently. I recommend it. I don't remember how much I paid for it, but it's definitely been worth it. Especially since Spanish and French are so, they're so similar and easy to mix up in your mind, that this has been a really helpful, clear grammar guide for keeping them separate in my mind. Of course, I don't recommend grammar guides usually as a method for learning languages. I would highly prefer just reading a book in whatever language you're learning. But I'm interested in grammar. I was a linguistics major at the University of Milwaukee, University of Wisconsin, Milwaukee, which is also where one of the authors is from. I was a linguistics major. Language is interesting to me. Grammar is interesting. So, you know, it doesn't hurt anything to read about it, and it can be very useful as well. But I don't want to give off the impression that reading about grammar is the way to learn a language, because that's not it. Jesus Cuesta Tarraga says, hi, what podcasts web do you recommend to practice listening? It depends what language you're learning. Obviously, you can find a lot of resources about like the news in slow Spanish or the news in slow French. That's nice for beginners because they're usually like released weekly, and so you're always getting new content, and it's just good practice to listen to. I like Coffee Break Spanish, Coffee Break French, and I think they also have English and German as well. I listen to a podcast called the SLA Workshop. SLA meaning, I'll put that in the comments here. SLA Workshop podcast. SLA meaning second language acquisition, and it's just a guy who talks about the science, the science behind the linguistic research that goes into studying how people learn second languages. Sorry, James says, what's the author's name? Are you talking about this book? It's Learning French from Spanish and Spanish from French by Patricia Lunn and Anita Alcas. And Anita was, like I said, she was my French professor when I was in college at University of Milwaukee. Didn't even know that until after I was already in her class and I had already purchased the book. It was funny. Okay, so okay, so yes, it's a Spanish name from the Basque country. I don't know how to pronounce that, but it makes sense if it's a Basque name. I love the Basque country, both the French side and the Spanish side. I've been there several times, and I love it. I walked to the Camino de Santiago from. I started walking in what's the name of that name? Saint-Jean-Pied-de-Port, I think. And I love Pamplona, and San Fermines is really fun. So yeah, I don't know. It just brings back good memories when I think about the Basque country. It's so pretty. The mountains there, the Pyrenees, love it. So, anyways, let me see. Where was I? What podcasts do you recommend? Oh yeah. So as I put in the comments, I really like listening to the SLA podcast. It's in English, and he speaks very slowly and clearly, and it's also in Spanish. And as far as listening to Spanish podcasts, sometimes they're hit or miss, even for me. I'd say I probably have like a C1 level in Spanish. And sometimes it's hard for me to listen to like the radio, depending on the accent or how fast people are speaking. But this guy speaks very clearly and very slowly, and I understand everything he says in Spanish and in English. And he does all of his episodes. He does every episode twice, once in Spanish and once in English, which is an excellent form of comprehensible input for me. All right, Inigo says, many kings in the ancient Spanish kingdom of Castile and Navarra had that name, as you can read. I'm very proud of it, LOL. Yeah, it sounds like it. Good, that's good. Mohammed says, hello, teacher. Hello, thanks for joining. Inigo says, my problem with Hello Talk and italki and so on is that guys like me are of no interest. 90% of subscribers are male. Yeah. I mean, it's a shame if you're going to go on Hello Talk and you're just meeting people who want to treat it as a dating website. It sucks. But that hasn't been my experience. Well, that has been my experience to some extent. I mean, there are just people on those websites that are just using Hello Talk to look for love. But that's been a smaller part of my experience. I've had mostly good experiences using Hello Talk. People that are honestly just trying to learn languages. And honestly, even if someone is trying to use the website for as a dating site, they're still talking to you, right? You're still getting experience using the language with them. Is it ethical? Don't lead people on. I'm not trying to say pretend to be in love with them to practice. But, you know, if you say, hey, I'm here to learn languages, and they want to keep talking to you, I'm going to take any language practice I can get. Sometimes people can be a little bit weird, like creepy, and then I just block them or stop talking to them. There's definitely been a few attempts of people trying to, like, is it called catfishing, where they, or scammers, you know. I will even talk to scammers in my foreign, you know, if they're going to practice French with me. There was this one guy that I was talking to who was masquerading as a girl, and he found this profile picture of like a really beautiful girl and put it up there, and he messaged me. He's like, hey, and after a few messages back and forth, it was very clear that this person was just trying to scam me. You know, as one of those Nigerian prince situations. But he was trying to scam me in French. And part of me thinks like, hey, as long as you're taking the time to message back and forth with me, and I'm not going to give you any of my valuable information, that's time taken away from when you could be scamming someone else. And it's time that I get to practice speaking French with a native speaker. So it was win-win for me and a lose for him. So that was, I don't know, that was a good time. I don't know if you caught the story, Kevin. There was someone trying to scam me on HelloTalk by masquerading as a beautiful woman, and I recognized that he was a scammer, and so I just continued having a conversation in French, just like normal. This person is asking me for all these details about myself, and I'm just lying, you know. But the philosophy is that as long as you're unsuccessfrock's working on scamming me, that's wasting your time that you could be scamming someone else. Brock Scott then says, top tips, get scammed in your target language. That is hilarious. Yeah. Yes, it is. But, you know, there's so many ways to find native speakers. Like, it was weird. When I first moved to Thailand, I was in this weird situation where all of my coworkers spoke English, and I was like, how the heck do I live in Thailand surrounded by Thai speakers, but I'm like struggling to find someone who will sit down and have a conversation with me in Thai. Sometimes I would talk to the security guards in my apartment building. And, you know, you try to do that as much as possible, but they're also working, you know, and like, you don't want to take everyone's time. Hello, Alan. Thanks for joining. He says, happy to see you're fine. Yes, I am fine. I was just on vacation for several weeks, and I wanted to continue making videos, but just didn't have the time. Anyways, I was in Thailand trying to find people that I could speak to. And it's weird because you're surrounded by Thai speakers, and you do try to have little conversations with people in the elevator or with the, you know, employees at the restaurant that, you know, but it's not the same. And someone, when I was kind of venting my frustration on a live stream right here on YouTube, and someone mentioned, go to a massage parlor and get a massage, and then you have a captive audience for an hour. And Thai massages are actually extremely cheap. There was a massage parlor underneath my apartment building, and it cost me 200 baht for a hour-long massage, which is like $6. And that's cheaper than any language lesson I can get on italki. And I would, you know, tip them as well. But tipping actually is not expected in Thailand. These massage, what do you call them? Massage therapists, masseuses. They were just willing to work for 200 baht an hour, $6 an hour. But you know, I want to tip them anyways. But anyways, you sit down for $6 or $9 for an hour, and you have an hour-long conversation with someone. It's just a creative way of finding someone to talk to, and you get a massage on top of it as an added bonus. So yeah, it goes right along with wait until someone tries to scam you in your foreign language, and then you have someone who is very interested in having a conversation with you. James says, I heard the expression one time on the U.S. presidential debate, you're dripping into the Kool-Aid. You're dipping into the Kool-Aid and you didn't even know the flavor. I kind of understand it. Do you know the expression? Dipping into the Kool-Aid and you don't even know the flavor. I'm not familiar with that expression. It sounds kind of like jumping into something before you're ready or something like that. I don't know what that means. Sorry. Yeah, but anyways, that was a great creative way of getting people to practice with you in your target language. In fact, and that is something that I learned here, right here on a live stream. Someone just left me a suggestion, and I thought that was great. So with that said, I would like to take a minute here and just ask you guys, what are your creative methods for finding people to talk to? Obviously, there's Hello Talk and there's italki, and those are great. Italki, you know, very useful for if you're just willing to pay someone to practice the language with you. But there's free things to do as well. Okay, Roy Johnson said Cory Booker expression, and he said it's a common expression from the 90s, AAVE. Interesting. I don't know if I've ever heard that, or I'm not familiar with that. It says, tell us what books your target languages are you reading at the moment? I will tell you that, but I am interested in hearing if anyone has suggestions for how do you find someone who you can practice your language with, either for free or for small price, like the suggestion that someone gave for going to a massage parlor in Thailand, and you have a captive audience to practice your language with for an hour, you know, or I don't know, maybe go to a hairdresser or something if you live in that country. Okay, what books are you reading at the moment? So, yes, I haven't been doing really well at staying consistent reading for the last few weeks, but I have been reading a few books on Link. In Spanish, I've been reading the Witcher series, translated into Spanish. And in French, I've been reading Goosebumps, a Goosebumps book, which, you know, it's for children, but I don't know, I still enjoy them. You know, it's for older children. They're scary. And my French isn't quite at the same level as my Spanish. I don't know, maybe like a B level in French. So it's at a good level for me. I just found it French translation of Goosebumps books. Apparently in Spanish, in French, it's called Chair de Poule. I was not familiar with that phrase before buying this ebook. Okay, Alan says, I use the website Chat Roulette to talk to other people in the internet from other countries. The internet can be crazy, but I make a lot of friends over there. Yeah, Chat Roulette, if you speak English, or if you're learning English, Chat Roulette is probably great because it just hooks you up with a random person, and almost all of them speak English. You have to be careful because at least like 1/5 of the people on Chat Roulette are not interested in having conversation. It's dudes masturbating, and I don't understand why. But you have to like constantly be clicking out of people whenever you get hooked up with a random stranger. Unless things have changed. I don't know. Maybe they've changed their policies or standards since then. Roy Johnson says, no, drinking the Kool-Aid is different. That comes from mass suicide in Jamestown. Yes. Oh, okay. Yes. I have heard the phrase drinking the Kool-Aid. Yeah, I mean, that's like it's like a term for mass suicide. Like if you're blindly following a cult, like if you're in a cult and you're blindly following someone, and you know they have poison Kool-Aid, and then everyone drinks it without questioning. That is a phrase. Yeah, that makes sense. Poisoning the Kool-Aid, and without test without knowing the flavor. That makes sense. Okay, so anyways, Inigo says, I thought you were also using Netflix to watch Spanish and French series. Yes, I did. I was watching a Spanish series called The Platform or something like that. Not a series, it was a movie. Yeah, Netflix is a great way of finding native level content. You have to be pretty high in your level before you can start with that. But it's a great way to maintain your language, especially because they usually have subtitles as well. All right, Alan says, exactly, have many crazy people. Oh, he's talking about chat roulette here. Chat roulette has many crazy people, but now they have a filter to not see crazy people. It's getting better. Okay, good. That's good to know. It's good to hear that they're coming up with a solution to all the masturbators on chat roulette. Inigo says, now, ainda não, mas eu compreendo muito. I don't speak Portuguese, but I understand. He says, like, I understand, but I understand a lot. Like maybe you don't speak Portuguese, but I understand a lot, or something like that. Okay. Oregon Polyglot says, hi, Aaron. I'm just joining you for a few minutes. Thanks for joining, Andy. James says, in French, I recommend you read The Plague, La Peste, by Albert Camus. Albert Camus. Especially during this quarantine time. I've never heard that, but I will look into it. My French isn't quite at the level where I can be reading like extensively in classics. I did take a French literature class in college where we had to read like Honoré de Balzac. I don't remember how to say this guy's name. What's the French author? I always think it looks like Honoré de Balzac. Honoré de Balzac or something like that. We read some other famous ones like can't think of any off the top of my head. La Tartuffe. But anyways, my French isn't quite at the level. I was for my classes. I read all of them because I had to, but it wasn't like something to enjoy to read for fun. Goosebumps I can read for fun. In French, or like the little Le Petit Prince, I can read for fun. That's my level in French. I also read Number the Stars, Compte les Étoiles. Where is it? I don't know. I must have moved all my books up here. So that's what I can listen to or read in French. Alan says, I'm watching How I Met Your Mother to practice listening. Yeah, that's great. I love How I Met Your Mother. You're gonna learn a lot of like colloquialisms and way that people speak, and like you get a lot of pop culture by watching those shows. And it's interesting, right? It's entertaining. It's something that you watch for fun, and it doesn't feel so much like studying all the time. But you will, on occasion, hear a phrase and be like, "What the heck does that mean?" And then you look it up, and then you learn something. That's what comprehensible input it's all about. I've been improving my English watching Friends lately. Yeah, it's interesting to hear you guys all talk about how you're using sitcoms, How I Met Your Mother or Friends. That's a great way of practicing your language. If you're not learning English, I can recommend a series called Extra. They have it in English, French, Spanish, and German. And it reminds me very much of Friends or How I Met Your Mother. It's like right down the same alley. It's kind of low budget, but the series is literally just called Extra. You type in Extra Spanish or Extra French or Extra German, and it should come up. You can find them all on YouTube for free. Okay, oops, sorry. Would you recommend Link? What's the best thing about the platform? Yes, I would recommend Link. In fact, I recommend it all the time. I use it personally. As a matter of fact, I used to say for a long time, I don't want to turn this channel into a place for me to make money by like profiting, by like promoting content. But I've been promoting Link for free for so long that I think people know that I really just believe in the system and I use it personally. So I am now accepting commissions from Link, but when I recommend people and they sign up. So with that said, if you are interested in joining Link and you want a 35% discount, you can use the link. I think I might have a link in the bottom in the description of this video that you can check on. And if you follow that, you'll get a 35% discount, and I'll also get a little bit of kickback from Link. So Oregon Polyglot says, I use Link to learn and read news in French to convert my reading skills into listening. Yep, Link is great for that. It's just great for like doing things that you're already doing anyways by like reading the news or listening to podcasts, but it makes it easier and it turns it into a language learning endeavor. James says, The Platform is a really good movie, definitely a must-watch movie. Yeah, The Platform, it's a Spanish movie. You can watch it on Netflix, and it's like, what would you say, like a psychological, like fantasy, it's like science fiction kind of. It's about this prison where people are, I don't want to give too much away, but people go to this prison and there's like, I don't know, 200 levels in this prison. A square room with no windows and 2 people in each level. And there's a platform that goes down every level. And there's like a hole in the center and a platform goes down every level with food in it. And the people at the top just get to take their pick of whatever they want. And then by the time it gets down to the bottom, there's no food left on the platform. It's really weird, but interesting. And if you're learning Spanish, I recommend it. It is from Spain, so you'll be learning, European Spanish by watching it. Yeah, Honoré de Balzac we read him. Let's see, what did we read? Colonel. I don't remember the name of the book. We read a few books by him, I think, in my French class. Okay, if you're reading something you don't 20 words, you try to learn them all or only 5 to 10. So if I don't know, yeah, so generally if I'm reading, I'm not going to stop to look up words, right? If I'm reading a novel, I don't need to know every word. You don't need to. And it takes time, right? And it takes the enjoyment away from reading. You can do that with like intensive reading, which is what my book is based off of, my Little Dragon book. But I recommend doing that for short books or short sections of a book, not for a whole novel, because that's not enjoyable and you don't want to spend a lot of time doing that. But Link makes it really easy just to tap the word and see what it means. So I think Link gives you the best of both worlds between intensive reading and extensive reading. Inigo says, Obrigado. I haven't studied it yet. Okay, that's not to me. Do you like English subtitles or the foreign subtitles? When I'm watching a movie, I like to watch movies kind of intensively. And if I'm not quite at the level in the language yet that I need to be, I will watch it with English subtitles first. And then a little bit later, I'll watch it with the native subtitles. And then after that, I might watch it again with no subtitles. So you're progressively going through the different levels. And yeah, and that's been very beneficial for me because it makes the content comprehensible. It starts off incomprehensible, and then as you go through, you understand a little bit more every time. Tartuffe by Molière. Yes, that's it. That's another one of the books we read in my French class. Okay, Molière and Jules Verne are the 2 easier authors of classic French literature, in my opinion. Yes, actually, I started reading a book by Jules Verne by myself. 5 semaines en ballon, I think, 5 weeks in a balloon. I started reading that on Link just because I found the ebook for free. I kind of fell off. I was able to read it. I was able to understand, but the setup for this book wasn't really interesting. It was like 7 chapters about how this guy is preparing his air balloon for a long journey. And I'm like, I can read things that are going to grab my attention a little bit more. It might have been more interesting to me if I had been learning it in my native language, but like drudging through the French, in Old French at that, for 7 chapters in a story that wasn't really interesting to me. didn't grasp my attention. It seems like it would be a really interesting adventure story once they actually got onto the balloon in Africa, which was what they were planning, you know, traversing the African continent in an air balloon. That sounds like an interesting read, but I gave up and I started reading the Goosebumps story instead in French. Eu quero falar português como brasileiro ou como português. Odio el portuñol. Odio el portuñol. Okay, so I don't speak Portuguese, but I understand that to mean I want to speak Portuguese like a Brazilian or like a Portuguese person. I hate Spanish Portuguese. Aren't the Romance languages fascinating? Okay, I watched Los Simpsons and Bob Esponja for Spanish. Yeah, and he says I'm 30. Yeah, you know what? I'm 30 and I still like watching cartoons. I'm not ashamed of it. Okay, do you prefer the old version of SML 1965 or the new one? Never used SML, so I can't answer that question. Maybe someone here, though, can answer. I know Andy has used a lot of language learning resources, so I don't know. Andy, if you're still here, maybe you can give him some help. Okay, Inigo says, got it. Portuguese is such a beautiful language. Portuguese, I don't think it can be hard for native speakers, because if you speak it as your native language, you might not speak it according to the Academy of Portuguese Language or whatever. I don't know if they have one of those in Portuguese. You might not speak it the way they tell you to speak it, but you speak it in your own way, and that's your native language. So I don't really agree with native speakers can't have trouble speaking their own language unless you have, like, you know, there's something wrong with your Wernicke's area, like, you know, you have some kind of disability, and then yeah, then you can maybe native speaker won't as well. Okay, main problem with Link is that you can only see like 20 words at once. Yeah, I use Link on the iPad and it's really good for that. It is a little bit hard scrolling through your phone, but even if you don't have a tablet, you can use it on the website, and it's been really beneficial for me. And the Oregon Polyglot says, LOL, that's the default setting on a cell phone. You can change the setting. On a computer, the default setting shows you a lot more on each page. Yes, exactly. Inigo says, El Hoyo, the platform, is highly recommendable. Quite controversial and political, though. I don't think I actually ever finished watching it, now that I think about it, but it didn't seem political to me. It was like a psychological thriller, kind of. I really hate using apps to learn languages. I'm used to the good old notebook. Yeah, notebooks are fine, but I've never actually found a notebook to be really useful for learning languages. Books, like books that you can read in a foreign language, yeah, that's more interesting. Oh my goodness. So I have this book called The Jesus Book, and it's written in Hawaiian Pidgin, and it's the Bible in Hawaiian Pidgin. And I find it fascinating because it looks like English, and you can like read it and understand it if you speak English, but it's written in Hawaiian Pidgin, and a lot of people think it sounds like bad English or like, I don't know, like uneducated English or something like that, but it's actually written in like the formalized version of Hawaiian Pidgin, and it's kind of hilarious and fascinating at the same time. So like, I don't know. So like, I'm just gonna read a passage out of here. The next day, John stay standing there again with two guys he teaching, and I don't know how they pronounce it. I'm just reading it as an English speaker. When John spot Jesus walking by him, he say, "Look, this guy do like God's baby sheep for the sacrifice." The two guys hear him say that, and they go with Jesus. He turn around and see them going with him. He tell them, "Hey, what you guys looking for?" And this is why language is so fascinating, because we read this and we hear incorrect English. But for a sociolinguistic person, it's fascinating because like this is, it's not incorrect English, it's correct Hawaiian Pidgin. And I don't know, I saw this book one time and I was like, that's just fascinating. So I don't know, I bought it. Instead of the letter to the Colossians, it's the letter from Paul for the Colossian people. I find that it's funny, but it's only funny if you see it through the lens of someone who speaks standard English. Sorry, I don't know why I got on the on that rabbit trail there. Okay. Oh, I'm missing a lot of comments here. Okay, Zaz, thanks to English, but thanks to English. I'm not sure what this comment means. Zaz, thanks. Zaz, Z-A-Z, that's a French singer who I really like. So if you're learning French, I recommend Zaz, especially her version of La Vie en Rose and a few other Port Coton, Les Passants. She has a lot of good songs in French. Okay, Spanish, especially in songs. Oh, okay. Will Tuna says link for your link discount. Sorry, I figured that was in my in the description below. I'll put it in right now. Link. If I can find it. Okay, here it is. All right, I'm putting the link in the comment section there. So if you follow that link, you will get a 35% discount on a link subscription, and I will also get some like a commission off of that. And again, for a long time, I was adamant that I would never accept money for promoting a product, but link is just something that I believe in so much, and I've been, promoting them for long enough that I think everyone knows I'm not just in this for the money. I promote Link because I believe in them. All right, Marcus W. says, I would love to learn Greek because I enjoy the grammar of an inflected language, but I cannot get myself to commit. Yeah, so almost all languages have some kind of inflection. I was recently learning Thai, and as far as I can tell, they don't have any inflection in their language. But that's the only language I've ever learned that doesn't, or that is minimally inflected. But I know Greek inflects their nouns. They have like different noun cases. So yeah, I don't know. I don't know too much about Greek, ironically, because I actually just started learning Greek on Duolingo like earlier this month. Mostly for fun. I almost never dabble in languages, except unless it's like when I was doing my live streams where I was like learning German for a day or something. I much prefer, rather than dabbling, I prefer to learn the next language that I think is going to be useful to me. Not to say that dabbling is wrong, but I just don't normally do it. But I have been dabbling in Greek, and it's fun. I enjoy some Greek. Okay. Michael says, Oregon Polyglot. Once in a blue moon, I tried to use Anki, but it's something that doesn't work for me for a long time. However, Anki is a good one. Yeah, that's kind of how I feel about Anki too. It's good for learning new vocabulary words, but you're not going to learn the language with just Anki. It's a flashcard deck. You need a lot more than that. Mona Lisa says, I think the main subject of the platform is capitalism. Yeah, I guess I could see how you could construe it that way. Oregon Poly says, I haven't tried the old version of SML, only the new one. Okay, well, I don't know. Do they even still offer the old version of SML if it's from 1965? Okay, Ellen says, I'm helping my American friend with Portuguese. Haha, I'm Brazilian, and he visited me in January. It's a nice experience for us. The funniest thing is that we met each other on chat roulette. Wow. I actually have met people that I've like met people in person that I've met online a few times. I met Kevin abroad when I was in Paris, and I met who did I meet? I met someone in Toronto. I don't remember. I met with someone in Toronto who was like who was following my channel when I was visiting there. Why can't I think of who it was? Oh, also I was in Langfest in Montreal. I met a few people that that I had met online. Sometimes it happens. It's a small world. Chat roulette is a funny place to meet people. But hey, you meet people online and then you become friends with them. And I have so many people on here on Facebook that I've met, not on Facebook, on YouTube, that I've met through YouTube, and I feel like very close friends with them now, even though we've never met in person. Oh, also Esperanto, Nask. I had some friends that I've talked to online for North Carolina for Nask. Currently, I only use Anki for 3 minutes a day and forget to use it a lot of days. Do you find that's interesting? Do you find it useful to use Anki for 3 minutes a day? Like, is that a strategy, or is that just product of getting bored quickly or something? I've done similar things where, like, all right, I'm going to use drops for 5 minutes a day. I mean, is that helpful? I mean, I'm sure it can't hurt, right? Okay, Daniela Coronada says, hola, saludos desde México. Hola, Daniela. Bienvenida. Inigo says, that's better than nothing. I enjoy a lot of Brazilian series. The last one I saw was O Mecanismo. What is that, the mechanism? When you're watching TV for a language you aren't great in, do you watch the whole thing or a few scenes at once? That's a great question. I'm sure, so I can tell you what I do. I'm sure other people have different strategies that work for them. When I first started learning French, I religiously watched this sitcom on YouTube which I mentioned earlier. It's called Extra en français. Extra en français, I guess. Extra in French is what it's called. And it's the exact same sitcom as Extra in Spanish, just in French. And I had used Extra in Spanish when I was learning Spanish. So when I started learning Extra, or when I started learning French, I was watching this sitcom on YouTube called Extra in French. And every episode is divided more or less equally into 3 parts. So, like, I don't know, 7 minutes long. And I would watch one part of that episode multiple times in a row, every time trying to understand a little bit more. And then after that, I would watch the whole episode. And I probably watched this one episode, like episode 1 of this series, I probably watched like 30 times. I would watch it almost every day. And then I would also watch the episodes after that. But episode 1, I watched a lot. And episode 2, after I watched episode 1 so many times that I got sick of it, I started watching episode 2 over and over and over. And the content became a lot more comprehensible the more I watched it. That took a lot of dedication, though. And it was boring after a while to watch the same episode over and over. But then, then I just moved on to the next one. Okay. Soy maestra de español y te conocí por tu video de la pronunciación de la R. Es muy difícil para mis alumnos angloparlantes. So you found me based on my video where I was explaining the R, and the R in Spanish is very difficult for English speakers, which it is. And yeah, so I have a video I was trying to explain kind of how to do that R sound. It takes a lot of playing around with your mouth, and I think it does help if you learn the parts of your mouth. Like, so for the R in Spanish, you got to take the tip of your tongue and put it up against your alveolar ridge. It's like you have a little bump behind your teeth, and that's where your R needs to make contact. It's the same place where you put your tongue when you do an N sound or a T. Like when you go to pronounce a T, you put your tongue against the alveolar ridge, or a S or a Z as well. The hard part for the trill in Spanish is that you have to loosen your tongue up enough that when the air goes past it, that it's able to vibrate rapidly against that alveolar ridge. And it's not something you can consciously control. You have to let go of a certain amount of control. Like, there's no way I can move my tongue up and down fast enough to make that sound. Just takes practice. It takes a lot of like being goofy and like feel to make weird sounds that you don't normally think of as normal. Same with the French R. Let me see, what time is it? Okay, I'm gonna have to go here in a few minutes because I am teaching a Spanish lesson online, which is something that I've been doing since I've been back in America to, make a little bit extra money. But with the French R, it's hard because we don't have that sound in English. If your native language doesn't have a sound, then it just sounds foreign. But with the French R, you gotta kind of constrict your throat in the back by your velum, kind of by the little punching bag you got in the back of your throat. In the cartoons when the bugs, I don't know. Is that a common thing in cartoons for someone to shrink down and hit the punching bag in the back of your throat? You close it down back there and let air pass through. So, and if you ever listen to Edith Piaf, she actually does a trill back there, like when she sings "Non, rien de rien." I can't really do it right now. Rien de rien. That's not a very common thing in French. I think it's more old-fashioned, and maybe only in certain like working class accents around Paris. Like Edith Piaf came from not high class, so that was kind of a thing back then. I think maybe it's also partially from Quebec, like some people in Quebec pronounce things that way. Sorry, we have a lot of questions here, and I might not be able to get to all of them before we go. Why does Canadian currency have the English Queen's face on it? Because she's also the Queen of Canada, right? Are you Canadian? No, I'm not. I have seen Extra in Spanish a few times. It's horrible, ha ha ha, but decent. Yeah, it's cheesy, it's low budget, but you'll learn Spanish. It'll teach you Spanish, and it's entertaining if you're not too picky. Andy says, about me and Anki, when I talk to myself in Japanese, I find that my grammar is strong, but I need a lot more vocabulary. I'm mostly reading to increase my vocab, but also use Anki a little. It helps. Yeah, Anki is not the greatest thing, but I like it. What do you think about Stephen Krashen's input hypothesis and its implications in language learning, such as delayed output? So I don't delay output when I'm learning a language. I try to speak as soon as I can. So in that sense, I am kind of on the Benny Lewis side of things. It's hard, and sometimes it can be demotivating, but I still try to speak as soon as possible. But I am also definitely on the Stephen Krashen side of things. I think input, especially at the beginning, is going to be more beneficial. And in the long term, when I'm trying to maintain languages that I've already learned, I really believe in the input hypothesis. You can learn a lot just by reading, or just by watching TV shows, listening to podcasts. Okay, it's very embarrassing, but I also watched more foreign contents than Hispanic ones, so I should be embarrassed too. I mean, I think that's normal. Well, I mean, I don't know if it's normal, but you know, there's a lot of TV shows and famous movies and stuff in English, so yeah, I think that's fine. Man, I don't know why I just thought about this, but I love the movie Pan's Labyrinth. That's a great movie. So I'm gonna watch that again, I think, in Spanish. Okay, evening meal time here, nearly 6 p.m. I'll catch up later. Enjoy the rest of the stream and the rest of your day. Thanks, Davo. We'll catch you guys later. Hopefully I'll be doing more live streams more regularly soon. Okay. I like some songs, but from Edith Piaf. Yeah, I really like La Vie en Rose and Non, je ne regrette rien, or whatever it's called. I like some of her other songs too. I can't think of any off the top of my head. Sous le ciel de Paris. Is that by Edith Piaf? Até a próxima. I'm assuming that's Portuguese for like see you next time or something like that. All right. Anyways, as I said, I got to get going here because I am teaching a Spanish lesson online through Take Lessons. You're learning languages like learning how to play guitar. Yeah, in a lot of ways, it is similar to that. All right. Well, thank you, everyone. Yeah, normally I don't get to the end of all the questions, but I kind of rushed through them at the end there. All right. Thank you all. I'll see you guys next time.